PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. It's so stirring. I still listen to that music every week now, and it just stirs me. It gets me excited. I can't wait to talk Star Wars. It gets me in the right frame of mind. I am PLD. That's Matty Gunner. This is Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good, man. And like you said about the music, I can't say it enough. David B is an absolute genius. Like,
Absolutely.
if I could ever have like an ounce of the musical talent that he does, I guess that's why like me and him have been writing some music together. I'm just like, bro, you do what you want. I'll just yell loudly over it.
That's artistic in its own way, though, as we know. Known to screaming quite like Matty Gunner. Love that as well. This is a big week, big episode. This is a big episode. We had two big things. Obviously, we have, as we've seen in the thumbnail, we're breaking down the Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 4, the Faster. It's called Faster. Which is a big one. And of course, we had the big Mandalorian Season 3 trailer drop this week. So pretty much our whole news segment is going to be talking about that Mandalorian trailer because, man, I got hyped.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you wait up for it? I thought about it, and then I saw at the time it was going to be out, I was like,
Well, that's for
I'm
you.
going to go to sleep. I'm going to watch it when it comes up.
That's the UK, you London folks. Me, I mean, that was like 10 o'clock for me. So that was fine. That's fine for me. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I go to work after that. So I did. I was like ready to go. The funny part about it, though, was my wife was in California. She was visiting her sister. So I had to go pick her up at the airport right at the time that it was going to be dropping. And I knew it. I knew it was going to happen. As soon as I got to the airport, I'm like, yep, it's going to drop any minute now because it's during the football game. Sure enough, I got the signal that it was up. I'm like, okay. I think I said to the joke before that I think some people, my friends, like, you should have her get an Uber home. And I was like, yes, but I like sleeping in my bed and not on my couch. So I had to pick her up.
Yeah, there's a compromise to be made.
So I did get to go home and do a reaction. It's on the trailer. It's on the channel already. If you haven't seen that, and myself reacting to the Mandalorian season trailer, we're gonna try to do more of those reactions if we can. We're gonna get Matty to do some reactions on Star Wars stuff as it comes out as well. And if we can't do it together, we'll do them separately. Why not? More content for you and more content for us. But yeah, I was very, very hyped. First of all, I saw the poster first. A lot of people love the poster. I thought it was great. I know the only pushback I had, I wasn't like overly excited in terms of like, it's just a cool getting Grogu in action, which is kind of cool. But I was like, I got to be honest with you. To be honest with myself, be honest with you, I was kind of like, okay, that's great. Give me the trailer. Yeah, you know what I mean. But let's see what. Why don't we just get right into it, right? We have the trailer here. I'll bring up the screens.
Do it.
And let's talk about it. Now, I already did a reaction, so this is not going to be any kind of reaction. Should probably take our little underlay off since we're down there. I'm not going to have a reaction. I just think we should go through, break it down bit by bit. Now, I'm well into it there because I was watching it earlier. So let's go back to the beginning. Now, here we are. We start right away with this shot here and anything coming up. That's a lot of Mandalorians, like a big group of Mandalorians in much different colors. And Din looking like he's taking a leading role there, right?
Yeah, it looks like he's like stepping his way through a crowd. Like they look like they're all facing someone.
Correct.
Like they're all like standing with him against someone. Maybe it's Bo-Katan in her group. Her group, and maybe this is the Children of the Watch.
Quite possibly. It quite possibly be. It's interesting to see because I do think we're going to see more of them this season. Obviously, during the trailer and even before that, we know that Din was going to be heading towards Mandalore and try to absolve himself from the sin of taking off his helmet in front of Grogu, which is, of course, specific to that sect of Mandalorians. So it looks like maybe he did find more of his people now or something. I don't know to that effect. Maybe they know he's got the Darksaber, which, of course, is the totem for Mandalorians at that point. Let's just see. We don't know any of these people yet, as far as I can tell. I mean, the one on the right there looks a little Boba Fettish, except for the orange helmet. But I don't think we know any of these Mandalorians, right?
No, not to my knowledge. And yeah, I couldn't pick any of them out of the lineup. They all, all very colorful armor, I must say. Like, I don't know if it's like a clan thing or if it's just guys that are like, yeah, let me have some Mandalorian armor and just customize it and make myself look individual.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think the cool thing about it, I mean, there's obviously more than just an in-story trope. It's a good way because Mandalorian armor, let's be honest, Mandalorian armor looks very similar. So they got to find a way to differentiate so we can tell which character is what. I mean, I remember when Mandalorian first came out, kind of like, oh, so it's just Boba Fett Silver. If you didn't really know Mandalorians besides that, it was kind of like, oh, okay, so it's just that kind of thing.
These are all so glad I wasn't the only one that thought that.
A lot of people, I think a lot of people did. Some people were scared of saying that because like the Mandalorians were such a big niche group for like the fan base. Not that I don't want to say anything like the general fans knew who they were, but it's really the niche fans who were really into the Mandalorian culture at that point, like Dave Filoni, for example.
Right.
But
you have like Sabine, who I thought Sabine's take on it was like really refreshing because I love graffiti art. Right. So like to see her like take her armor and like graffiti paint over it and make it her own personality. Maybe that's what we're looking at with these guys. Maybe they've developed their own color schemes, their own armor, their own tribe, and they're just like, hey, this is my expression through my armor, which for a Mandalorian that seems plausible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get more. Here we go. Obviously, we get a little bit. Okay, so we get the Lucasfilm logo. We obviously get the ship traveling to space, that Naboo
I love that
Royal Starfighter modified.
Is Dave?
There he is. There's Dave. I like that. We're talking about this sets us up really good right now. We have not only is Din teaching Grogu about like fighting and things of that nature, also wants to teach him different ways about how to survive in the galaxy. I don't even know if Din knows that. He seems to be, there's a certain naiveness. I don't know. Naivete. That's a good word. To Din, it feels like, as far as culturally, like, because he's obviously knows his way around the galaxy. He's a bounty hunter. We've seen him kick ass and, be smart about things. But certain seems to be like, as far as like the sect goes, the sect seems to be like a very enclosed atmosphere. Like the fact that he was so surprised when other Mandalorians were taking off their helmet with ease, kind of thing. It feels like he's been a bit isolated as far as some cultural things go. So I think this is going to be a part of that journey this year, Mandalorian. We're going to see what does it mean to be a Mandalorian overall, not just this sect of the Mandalorians. And in comparison, what does it mean to be in this sect of Mandalorians versus the Bo-Katan sect of Mandalorians, for example?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go look as far as like the Jedi have always been known to have been the Mandalorians' enemy. Like that's been known since the beginning of, let's say since the beginning of time, but you guys know what I mean. But he had no idea what a Jedi was.
Right. Absolutely.
And he's been going around with one this whole time.
That's kind of weird. It surprises me to think about that because it's only a certain amount of years after Return of the Jedi when Luke came back, but still only like 20 plus years or 20, was it 19 years between episode 3 and episode 4, another 5 years after that. So at most like 30 years later, the Jedi are just all but extinct as far as not even just physically, but almost mentally. You don't hear people talking about them at all. That's a short period of time when you consider the grand scheme of time to have forgotten somebody as important as the Jedi Knights that were such like superheroes back in the day. They're more like myth now. Like as we get to later on, as we see with Rey later on, saying how much of a myth they were. It's very odd, but maybe that just shows you how good that Palpatine was in eradicating everything known about the Jedi. So interesting to see this develop with this. But either way, let's continue through. Obviously,
Good Dave.
There you go. There you go. Look at that Navarro back in Navarro, and of course the Kowakian monkey lizard. Look at. He is doing well for himself.
He is moving up in the world. The glow up is real. I'm very disappointed that is how they shake hands, and they don't do the Predator like slap with the flex.
I was a little bit upset about that myself. Not gonna lie, I'm glad we're on the same page. But it does look like he's like actually a little bit of Lando in Griff now. He's got the cape going on. He's all set up, definitely rich up. There's some cool kind of things in the background as well. Got a lot. It seems like it's definitely Navarro has definitely done well under Griff's leadership.
The economy is booming.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like where that is going. Let's see. Let's keep going there. After back in space now. A lot of rainwater there. And there's the armorer. Now that was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen. We had to have the armorer. The armorer is definitely the figurehead of the sect, so to speak. So the confrontation between, if Din is going to absolve himself from his sins, as he says, he's going to have to absolve them to somebody, and that's got to be the armorer.
Yeah, I want to shout out our friend Bador real quick. A long time ago, she put me onto that. The armorer is wearing a helmet very reminiscent of what I call the Mandalorians.
Oh, okay. The ones who were with Maul.
That were loyal to Maul. She's got like the horns on her helmet. Very similar. It's not like exact 1-to-1, but it's very similar. So part of me is kind of like, is she like still loyal? But Maul is my favorite character, so of course I'm gonna wonder that. But
you see Maul and everything, let's be honest.
I do.
It's interesting you mentioned that though. I think I mentioned
smile of every baby.
On social media that my son and I have been doing some watching of the Clone Wars, finally introducing him to Clone Wars, and we just finished the finale of the Clone Wars season 7, so we get to see Maul in action on Mandalore. So it's right in the forefront of my mind as well. So I'm surprised I didn't think about that, but that is true now that I look back at it. Interesting that how that would possibly play in. I mean, it should play in if we're going to Mandalore. That's a big part of the Mandalorian history in canon. Is that? I mean, I think we will get more of the Night of 1,000 Tears, obviously, where we have. I mean, that's the big crux of Bo-Katan's storyline here at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have some Maul connections made at some point or another.
Yeah.
Even if he is definitely gone at this point. But then again, he was definitely gone after episode 1. So who knows at this point? I don't want to see Maul come back. Let me tell you.
No one's ever really gone.
I don't really want to see Maul come back like at this point. I think that'd be a little bit too.
Let me have this.
Going back to the well one too many times for me, but
okay.
I mean, I want more Maul. I want more Maul story. I just want them back in the day. Give me like the Crimson Dawn Maul.
There's a time and a place.
Story. Exactly. All right. Look at that shot of Mandalore.
This is my favorite. That's my favorite shot of this trailer and the last trailer. Is Sundari absolutely destroyed?
What are we like? So what do they have left to lead Mandalore? There's nothing left to lead almost, pretty much. It's scary.
You could try and rebuild, but how many times are they going to do that now?
Exactly. I like this part. We got Pelimato, first of all, saying, "May the Force be with you." That's something we hear from Mandalorian in the Mandalorian very much, which is nice. But interesting, like this is the shot. We had a shot earlier with Grogu. There's a shot at one point with Grogu in the cockpit with Din. So it looks like R5 there is in the back of the Royal Starfighter there. So it looks like he's getting a droid friend as well, or at least temporarily from Peli. I don't know what that's going to entail, but I thought that was a nice little touch.
I also noted that she's now a star of the show. She's not just a recurring cast member. It bills her as a star of the show. Yeah.
And I'm happy for that. I think she's a great character for this show. Some people don't like her humor, and I kind of understand where they're coming from. It's not every character is going to connect with everybody the same way. We'll talk about that later on, I believe, with a certain character from the Bad Batch episode. Oh,
yes.
But I like to see her in this role, so I'm excited about that. I've got some fireworks going here. Is this a celebration of an anniversary perhaps of the fall of the Empire? Maybe, I don't know.
It's on Tatooine, so maybe I'm assuming it's like Boba Fett's coronation.
Well, are you sure it's Tatooine though?
Yeah, if you
that's back, Tatooine.
Yeah, if you like pause it on the thing and then look in like the top right, you can see like all the dome structures and the dome houses and stuff. Looks very, very Tatooine.
It does look Tatooine. I'm wondering if it's the same. But of course, the trailer is always designed to make you think that way anyway, like this kind of stuff. So it could be somewhere else. I don't know, but you are right. It does look Tatooine.
It does look Tatooine.
Maybe it is Boba Fett's coronation. That'd be interesting to tie that in. We don't have any specific knowledge that Boba Fett's in this series, correct? Like he's not been announced as far as I know.
He hasn't been announced, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Definitely. Let's see. Of course, Mars first. Now there's a great shot. Now, obviously, our initial instinct goes to Coruscant, right?
Thank you. I'm so glad you're saying this.
It does initially go to Coruscant. It is very visually stimulating. It actually almost looks like it was taken from Attack of the Clones, like during the race. However, given where we are, there's potential. It could be somewhere else. It could be Hosnian Prime.
Hosnian Prime.
That's a definitive place. It could be Hosnian Prime. And I guess on a long shot, it could be something like a developed planet like Chandrilla, who was also a capital for a bit as well.
Yeah, it was. There was also. Did you see the extra shot that was added to the Disney Plus trailer?
I did later on. I don't have it here because I didn't want to. I wasn't sure if Disney Plus, if I screen shared it, would come up on the screens, and there's some issues with that sometimes. So we will look at that. I look at that shot at the end. I did see that
it was like a Star Destroyer scrapyard.
Yeah, being taken out. It looked like Pershing was there potentially. I don't know where that is either, but that's going to be an interesting shot for sure. But this shot here, I do think I got to say, I think we're going to get Coruscant. I don't think it's going to be Hosnian Prime.
I'd love to.
I would love to see Hosnian Prime because I like seeing new planets, and this is an important planet in this time frame. So I'd like to actually finally get there in something besides the books and besides the one shot of it blowing up in episode 7. Right. So it'd be cool to develop this. It's kind of like visiting Alderaan after we watched episode 4. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But if I had to put money down, I'm gonna bet it's Coruscant. What about you? What are your thoughts?
We know we're going to Coruscant anyway with another shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it is Coruscant.
Right.
I would actually welcome it being Coruscant because it brings that familiarity to me that the Mandalorian also brings. The Mandalorian's the warm blanket that everyone in Star Wars can agree on and love. So seeing Coruscant would be one of those moments where everyone just comes together. We just wrap our arms around each other. We're like, oh, how great is this?
Right. And we've seen a lot of, we'll talk about this a lot more in our breakdown of Bad Batch as well soon. But there's a lot of prequel love more recently. Prequels have definitely been reevaluated. And I feel like there's a lot of, especially within the Lucasfilm and the story group and the directors and writers and things like that, we get a lot more love nods towards the prequels in the way. We got a lot of that with as far as Bad Batch goes. And this kind of feels like it's more of that too. It's like a nod back to Attack of the Clones in a way. So that wouldn't be a surprise either. And I got to be honest, I would welcome Coruscant as well, because quite frankly, it's an interesting thought to see Coruscant after the fall of Palpatine. And maybe after, when it's not a capital. I mean, I say I did listen to Force Center with the great Ken Knapsack and Joseph Scrimshaw talking about this trailer, and Jennifer Landa as well. And they mentioned the fact that, like, you know what, it's not the capital, it's still got to be an important place in the galaxy. It's kind of like comparing, like, New York City was once the capital of the United States. New York City is still pretty important city. Yeah, a pretty important city in America at this point, So it's definitely got to be a big important part of the universe. So I'm interested to see the dynamic there if we get anything of that. But yeah, like I said here, we do have the voice of Carson Teva, but I want to discuss. There we go. We got Pershing there. Pershing and a droid. Obviously, the clone guy himself from Mandalorian. Interesting to see. He doesn't look like he's being like held prisoner or anything anymore. It looks like he's flying around normal. So maybe he has struck a deal with the New Republic, or I'm not certain. But what's your thoughts when you see Pershing flying around like this?
It's good. I wouldn't be surprised if he did like cut some kind of a plea deal with the New Republic to like provide them information on something, whether it's the information on what we know to later become the Palpatine cloning project. I don't know, but he could easily just be like, look, the Empire aren't done. Like, they're still out there working. Here's where you could find them.
Right.
So
I was looking at that, checking the little settings here. I do think that Pershing did something. I'm not sure what it is necessarily, but he never seemed to be a true Imperial bad guy, so to speak. He was kind of just there. He was kind of like doing his job. It was more like he was a grunt. I mean, a scientist grunt, but like he was just doing his job to whoever was in command at the time. He happened to be placed under the Imperial warlord. I think he doesn't have any like real Imperial leanings. He's not like the guy who believes in the Empire per se. He believes in the science. He likes figuring out the science of it all. He obviously felt bad about Grogu at one point or another, so I think he has some morality there. So if the New Republic takes him out, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'll work for you. I just want to work on the science." So I'm glad to see him drinks. I want to see more there. I want to see. I said in my trailer reaction, I'm interested to see if they do tie in. Even though obviously tonally it's a little bit different, but we do tie in the Bad Batch, Mount Tantus stuff with this stuff, purging stuff. So
yeah,
interested to see a nice little cross section there. All right, now there we go. Carson Tiller getting a prominent trailer line. That makes me happy. And I love what he's saying too. He's obviously part of the New Republic. He realizes that there's stuff coming. Obviously, I think he probably, if you scale ahead, is he talking about the First Order at this point? What exactly is he talking about? This danger ahead, or is it something else? Is he talking about the coming of perhaps, I don't know, say Thrawn? I don't know. But importantly, I figured that the trailer's kind of doing us a little bit of a disservice here, or a little bit of a misdirect, because they could make it look like he's talking to Din. But if you look closely, they're not in the same spot.
No.
That's not the same area.
No, that looks like Din's on Mandalore.
Right. It looks like Din's on Mandalore, where Carson looks like he's probably in Coruscant or that city that they're in, potentially maybe Hosnian Prime or whatnot. Now, it could be just a weird angle. Maybe they are. Who knows? But it looks to me like he's talking to somebody else. So if he's not talking to Din, who is he talking to? That's what I want to find out.
Maybe Bo-Katan.
Maybe, perhaps.
And I love the captions are hiding it, but the Rancor Squadron patch on his jacket, so sick. I love that.
Yes, that's awesome. That is very cool. All right, we're moving on to, obviously, there's a helmet. What is that? That blew my mind a little bit, seeing that helmet like that. So it's obviously a helmet from the past.
Yeah.
Who is it? Do we think it's Tarvisa, Darksaber?
I saw that. And I see a lot of people that are like, oh, it's too different of a shape to be Tar Vizsla's helmet. Yeah, so was the Grand Inquisitor's head.
That's true, exactly.
Like, that could be anyone's. And like, you look at the engravings on the face visor, like that definitely looks old. That looks a lot older.
Exactly. So maybe someone from that era, at the very least. Now, obviously, I agree. You jump something from animation or from storytelling to live action, it's going to be different. It's going to feel different. I always have to give internet trolls something to bitch about, as we say. But I'm interested to see. It's definitely an artifact of some kind. Maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this, but either way, it's a look back into history, which is awesome to me.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna reach out to our friend Sean Sullivan, because I know he's an expert on like Mandalorian culture. He loves all that stuff. So I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he recognizes any of those markings on the helmet.
That's a good time. Sean Sullivan, of course, of Scoundrels Inc., which we love that podcast with Kevin Smets, Brandon Hanna, Frankie Janish, and of course the aforementioned Sean Sullivan. Good call there. Let's see what else we got. Okay, got Grogu. Whoa, there's the shot. There's the shot. Okay. Now Grogu you can see the lightsaber reflect in his eye, and then you see this shot. Ooh, what is this? Okay. So obviously to me, the first thought is it could be anything. It could be a different flashback, but it looks like we're getting more Order 66.
Yeah.
Now I wanna attack like the elephant in the room, kind of. I've seen some pushback online about we're visiting Order 66 again, and to me, I don't understand that pushback because first of all, I can't get enough Order 66 stuff. It's a very big moment in the galaxy. This is akin to like some of the biggest things in our history. For example, this is a seminal moment in time, the destruction of the Jedi Order. And to get different angles from this is, I think, a very important. It's a very important center spoke in a wheel, so to speak. So I love getting different perspectives of this. We've got from Anakin. We've gotten a little bit from Reva, for example. We got a little bit of the last season from Grogu, but that last part specifically means it's even more important to see it in this show because we see Grogu at the scene of his trauma. We got a little tease of it. We got a little bit of a tease of it before when Luke went into his memories. Now we get to go see more of it. It looks like we're going to get a little bit more in depth. These do look like the same Jedis we saw in his previous vision, correct? So, so who's on the other side of that door?
You want to take a gander at a guess?
You can go ahead, Matt. I know you have your own possible guess.
But I think it's Anakin.
Very well could be. It very well could be. It does look like a lightsaber opening up the door right in the middle there. We do have, I hate to say it this way, but you have Hayden Christensen on retainer, so to speak. He did some Obi-Wan shots. He's reportedly in the Ahsoka series. So, while you're filming Ahsoka, which is filming now, or was filming now rather at the time, you just, phone up, say, hey, can you just stop by, do a little bit of a flashback for a couple minutes? Hell, they could have filmed this during Obi-Wan. Who knows? They could have done it at any time.
It could have been done like that exact same day. And there's also an interview that Favreau did that said every week there's going to be a massive surprise.
Yeah. Which I will add on to the fact that after this trailer, I didn't see too many real big surprises. So I'm interested to see what they are.
I love that. I love they did that. But
yeah, absolutely. Now, if I had to take a guess, I'm always one that likes to downplay my excitement about things because I hate to get excited about something and have it not happen. I'd hate to get all hyped up and go, that's Anakin. And it's not Anakin. And I go,
yeah,
I want to take in what they give me and react to it. Correct. My initial thoughts are these might be just some of the 501st. And that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I love the 501st.
What I really want to know, and what I do hope is given to us, and hopefully given to us this season, the way they were looking, do we find out how Grogu got out? I figure we got to find out at some point. It would be such a kick in the pants if we don't ever find out how Grogu got out of the temple. But they could be saving it for a finale season. Who knows?
Yeah.
Is this, by the way, we don't know. Is this the final season, or is this?
No, you have one more. They are doing a season 4.
They are doing season 4. Okay, so they might say it might be one of those things where they tease it before we get a little bit more of the tease this time, and then they save that kind of information for the 4th, maybe the final thing. As long as we get it sometime, I'm happy. But I just really want to know. So if we get this season, I'm excited.
Another person it could be the Temple Guard.
That's another shot. That's another idea. Absolutely. One of the Temple Guards, because the Temple Guards have been more obviously in play since the Grand Inquisitor and things of that nature. I've also heard some other things thrown out there, perhaps that maybe we're going to see Reva find her way through. Maybe Reva's the one who saves Grogu.
Maybe. I mean, she was stabbed through the chest, but
no. But this is back in Order 66. She was a kid.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
She was stabbed in the chest. So I think that could be like a young Reva. Yeah. I mean, of course, the lights were a little high up for a kid to be going through there.
That would be cool.
But it's an interesting tie-in to Obi-Wan. But speaking of a tie-in to Obi-Wan, what if it's Quinlan Vos?
Oh, Jason Momoa's Quinlan Vos. Yes, please.
We did get that. That would be a big, huge surprise for sure. And we get the name drop, obviously, in Obi-Wan. So perhaps Quinlan Vos. I mean, it'd be hard for me to see Quinlan Vos leaving the battle because he's such like a rogue Jedi kind of thing. It just feels like he wouldn't leave. He would have wanted to face Anakin and the 501st head on. But perhaps that's the reason why he left, is the fact that he had he came in, found a kid, and said, I can't fight with this kid. I got to get this kid out of here, kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe like these Jedi are all trapped in here and he just like cut through and he's like, guys, come on, let's go.
Yeah. So interesting to say. I don't know. But I mean, did have the name drop in Obi-Wan. I wonder if that was for a reason. They do tend to do that every once in a while. So maybe that's the case. Either way, a lot of excitement is coming from this one shot. So bring on Mars first. All right. So what else we got here? We got TIE fighters, chasing some ship at this point. They make it look like it's the Mandalorian, but I'm not sure that's the starfighter there. It looks like it could be a different ship.
I think that's Bo-Katan's ship.
It does look like Bo-Katan's ship, right?
I forget the name of it, but also seeing TIE interceptors on screen for the first time in absolutely forever. I was just like, yes, because I love the TIE interceptors. I think they're a beautiful design ship.
Yeah,
but yeah, that does look like Bo-Katan's ship to me.
Yeah, definitely. I love watching that. That shot's great. But either way, then we got another cool shot.
I love this.
This is a great shot. Is this the droid Gatra, perhaps, from the fictional storylines? I don't know. The droids they coming together, being more sentient, trying to like make their way without the organics. Because it's definitely a droid bar, right? Can we? I mean, just something about it looks like it just screams like we don't serve your kind here to Din, right? It just screams like that's the line gonna happen.
That has to happen,
right?
That has to be a line.
Shout out! I did steal that. I saw that from Force Center. I'm not gonna lie. I heard that Force Center, and I was like laughing my butt off. I don't like that's the perfect line. But I love this shot specifically because of right here, getting those battle droids.
Battle droids. I mean, one's sitting at the bar, one's just like chilling at the bar.
All chilling, right? They're all chilling. It's kind of a fun thing. We do have the CZ3 droid from A New Hope, who's in the background of New Hope.
Nice little cool
bunch of cool things there. Yeah, absolutely. This actually looked like R2 at first when I first saw it.
I thought
like,
it was
R2? But
even when you just brought it up for a second there, like I'd already like dismissed it in my mind before. But when you put it up, I was like, hold on a second, is that? But I don't know. Might be a misdirect. Maybe it is R2. They just did a little bit of different shading.
Seems like different kind of shading. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not certain, but yeah, I believe it's not R2 after that. But otherwise, either way, I can't wait to visit this place. It seems like it's gonna be a fun place to visit in Star Wars lore. It'll be very exciting to see. Especially again, that's that prequel love though. The battle droids are there, so I'm excited about that.
3 battle droids walk into a bar.
Gotta finish that joke somehow. I don't know. Okay, so we go in. There's a shot for you though.
Whoa.
Where are they there? It looks like they're in Navarro.
Navarro, it looks like.
Okay. And is that Paz Vizsla?
Yeah, that's Paz Vizsla, yeah.
Okay.
Which is interesting because last time Din saw him, Din whooped his ass.
Yeah.
So, he's going to be looking for some payback.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see. Are they I wonder if this is Bo-Katan's clan searching for Din at this point. Are we getting that kind of a fight? They're previously obviously friends and working together. At some point, maybe Paz has started to work with Bo-Katan at that point potentially to hunt down, because obviously Bo-Katan, who she's got her heroic stance. We got to remember she started off as part of Death Watch, and so she could obviously slip back more into that villainous side of things, so to speak, because she needs the Darksaber. She needs to win the Darksaber from Din if she's going to lead, or if she's going to have any sense of who's going to be leading Mandalore. Well, that's what led to her downfall before, when she took the Darksaber from Sabine without beating her. It kind of like became this thing. We obviously saw at the end where we had that whole big beat at the end of season 2, where it was definitely intimated that she was kind of upset that Din had the Darksaber, and she realized that she had to beat him for it. So it's kind of an interesting way we're going to go on thing. I don't know whose side people are going to be on. It's going to be Mandalorians versus Mandalorians, I feel like.
Mandalorian Civil War.
Exactly. Still going on. But that's a great shot, though. That looks like a lot of fun, right? And then there's that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Hey! Babu Freak, at least Babu Freak creatures. There's 2 of them. I didn't expect 2 of them. I knew Babu Freak was in this series. So have 2 of the creatures from the same race there. I don't even know if these are Babu Freak. These might be just Babu Freak's brothers or something. We don't know.
The one on the right looks like Babu.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like they're like the worm guys from Men in Black.
Oh, maybe.
You just open up like a drawer and they're like all in there.
It could be. Either way, I'm excited to see that creature. I'm excited to see Babu Freak get expanded more, and that creature is very fun. So that should add a very fun element to a very fun show. So, and then this shot, I don't know what that creature is, but it looks badass. And boom! I almost feel like this is in the first episode to show us exactly how far Grogu's come since last time, because it feels like it's just like, I'm going to show you something, and boom, this is where we are right now. This is the way.
He's coming out like Keanu in the Matrix, just like.
Yeah, exactly, right. Oh man, let me stop that.
And I love that the creature that he pushes. You can tell that's a guy in a suit.
Yes. Oh, it's definitely practical. I love that aspect of it. So that is their trailer. Any final thoughts before we get into today's episode of Bad Batch?
Can March 1st hurry up?
Yeah, that's true. There you go. Awesome. Speaking of Mandalorian, before we touch base, I did also mention the directors have been signed, or announced rather. We get Rick Famuyiwa, who's back, and I'm excited for that. Obviously, he's also executive producing alongside Dave and John. Rachel Morrison, Lee Isaac Chung, Carl Weathers, of course, getting to do hopefully another 80s action montage scene. That's what I'm hoping the episode is. Peter Ramsey, and of course, Bryce Dallas Howard, who has really kind of solidified herself as one of the premier Star Wars TV directors at this point. I think hopefully we get to see her up on doing a big screen thing at some point, because I think that's how good she's done. So.
Yeah, she's been absolutely incredible. So I hope she gets her own project
at
some point to helm like Deborah Chow's had.
I love that, of course. And of course, John Favreau wrote the whole season. Dave Filoni helped out in a couple episodes, as did one of the writers from Book of Boba Fett. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I said it earlier, but either way, it should be a fun season. March 1st, let's go. But all right, let's get into this week's episode of The Bad Batch, season 2, episode 4. I want to open up by saying, we had a very intense episode last week, a very dark episode last week. So I went into this episode thinking, knowing how this thing all works, that this was going to be a more lighthearted episode. And I was right for the most part. But I had this worry as I was watching it, going, and I hate that Star Wars fan base is at this right now with the empowered grumpy trolls we have on the internet at times. I almost was kind of worrying that people are going to look at this episode and go, oh God, why can't we have the dark gritty tone? Why do we have to have this filler episode?
Oh, it's filler, man.
Right.
God, I hate that word. I hate that word.
I do too, and I'm guilty of using it sometimes. I try to find a way to make a better word for it, because there is a word for it I understand. No, is this a big part of an overall story? No. But it doesn't mean you can't invite the show into your heart, invite the characters into your heart, and get to take in what they're giving to you. You can have a fun time with this kind of episode. And I did. I had a blast. I had a blast overall. There was definitely a lot of prequel love thrown in here. Now, this is riot racing. Basically, is what I want to hear. That's the new quote now, right? Instead of this is pod racing. Now, this is riot racing.
we had the more intense, and now we have faster.
That's right. Faster, more intense. George Lucas would have loved this episode. Let's be honest here.
He would have. I mean, look at all the style, the different color schemes of the races. That's so American graffiti.
100%. I say would, like I probably got a chance to watch. He probably watched it somewhere. He does love Dave. He loves Dave and everything he does. So I wouldn't be surprised if he knows about it already. But either way, I got a lot of George love out of this. Definitely, obviously, a nod towards the Phantom Menace. Let's get into it a little bit here. Let's start off. Of course, we start off every breakdown of the Bad Batch and every breakdown of any show with our different categories that we break them down into. The first one, of course, is Hondo Watch 2023.
Insolence! We are pirates! We don't even know what that means!
Did we see Hondo Ohnaka in this episode of Star Wars Media? Yes or no?
This effort is no longer profitable!
I'm sad to report we have to wait for at least one more week for Hondo.
I looked in the crowd. I scanned all the faces in the crowd. Not a peep.
And I gotta say, once again, I almost hate doing this because I want to take in these new characters and learn more about them, and that's how we get introduced to new Hondo Ohnakas, correct? Right, but Maleki could certainly have been Hondo.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both big fans of Ernie Hudson.
Love Ernie Hudson,
but
love Maleki. Not gonna lie, I like Maleki.
Yeah, great character, but give us what the people want. We're craving Hondo at this point. When was the last time we saw Hondo? Rebels. It's time, boys. Come on.
I mean, yeah, he did obviously in Galaxy's Edge as well, but that's not on our screen and watching it every week-to-week basis.
I almost fainted seeing him in real life.
Right? Loved it so much.
I got the flutters.
Well, Hondo Watch does continue. Hopefully next week we can show you our Hondo Watch snippet, as I call it, or we get Hondo in the episode, but not this week. Okay, let's move on to mission briefing.
What do you need, Rex?
Any chance I could use you for a mission?
All right, we already started getting into it. We introduced the episode. This episode, obviously, a different take from last week. Last week was the Crosshair-centric episode. We got Crosshair, we got Cody. This is back to the batch, although I will say, surprisingly, not the whole batch. For whatever reason, this was a hunterless and an echoless episode. So for 2 weeks in a row, we've had no hunter, no echo. We get this completely on Wrecker, Omega, Tech, and of course, Sid plays a larger role in this one as well. We have them back at Sid's establishment when Sid starts hiring them for a gig. Well, I love the fact that they call, was it Nerf Nuggets? That's what Hunter and Echo were delivering?
Yeah, Hunter and Echo are essentially at this moment being DoorDash delivery drivers.
That's what it sounded like. DoorDash of the Galaxy. I remember they're Grubhub. Grubhub sounds more of a Galaxy kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what is it?
Galaxy Grubhub.
Yeah, Yubhub.
Yubhub. Yubhub. That's
Yubhub.
what it is. The Ewok mascot. It's a Yubhub. Here we go. I do wonder. This is a little bit of a force vision kind of thing. I do wonder if we're going to come back next week and they're going to have return from the mission with something more important than Nerf Nuggets that we didn't find out about yet. Maybe. I don't know. But either way, they're gone, which is kind of cool because we do get to focus more on certain characters. If we had any drawbacks or nitpicks of the Bad Batch season 1, is that there are a lot of them. There were 5 of them we had to focus on. 5 and plus Omega if you count everybody. So getting the individual development was a little hard at times. We had the characters. We also had whoever the enemy was that week, or whoever the people they were saving were that week. We actually had a Hera episode at one point, or two episode arc of Hera last season. So getting into specifics about the individual characters sometimes is harder. Getting Hunter and Echo out for an episode lets us concentrate on Wrecker and on Tech.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've dubbed this episode "Fast and Furious Techio Drift" because it's very. You like that, huh?
I did like that. John Lestrina likes that if he's listening.
Yeah,
Techio Drift, huh?
I like that Tech is what we've had 2 episodes now where Tech is essentially the guy. He is the one that they are focusing on, which could be a great thing. Could be a bad thing. Filoni, don't you dare. I know what you're thinking. Don't even think about it.
Draw us in and then cut us off. That's what he does. That's what he does best sometimes. We do have, all right, so Sid takes on Tech and Wrecker and Omega, and they go on a little side mission, so to speak, where we get to meet a droid racer by the name of Teo that it seems like Sid either owns, or at least in this case of droid sentience, he definitely seems to be very independent. Maybe she works with as a new racer as part of this Riot Racing, which is a souped up version of pod racing where you basically can shoot your opponents, which is pretty fun.
It's Star Wars Mario Kart.
Pretty much. I got the same vibes. So that goes down. We get to see a couple of races, and we get to meet Malegi, who is this obviously underworld kind of character. Doesn't seem to be too bad. It seems like he's got some sense of honor and things of that nature, but he's still hardcore. If you miss your payments, he's going to break your legs, or he'll have his guard break your legs. Whatever. He's a big dude. We get to learn a little more about Sid's past, which is kind of cool. A little more about where she is when she's outside of her little establishment, so to speak. We get to meet a bunch of new riot racers. Everything is a nod to episode 1 in this film, in this episode. There's a lot of nods to that pod racing sequence, intentionally so, obviously. Some even beat for beat moments in terms of you get the long introductions of all these great characters. You get these great names. You get these great Hunter name Riot Racer names: Slowhawk, Kane, Quick Draw Quasar, the Mad Bomber, the Hunter Gnome.
The Mad Bomber is just such a video game character, like Apex or one of those type of games. So yeah, I love that. I mean, what was one of them? Jet Venom.
Jet Venom was our lead. He was our lead bad guy, so to speak, a Malegi's racer. But I like that. I always watch the subtitles. It's not spelled Venom, it's spelled Venim.
Yeah, he's essentially Sebulba.
Correct. Yeah, that's basically was the Sebulba nod to a degree, even to the point where he was going to shoot Wrecker at the end or whatever. But that's actually, we'll get to that point. That's one of my favorite.
Wanga.
Exactly. But it's all a big thing. We have obviously Malegi. They get into this kind of scenario where Sid owes them money. They have to race, get out of the situation. They sabotage Teo, and so it ends up Tech having to be racing instead of Teo. So Tech has to do his racing skills and shows his skills off. Obviously, at the end of the day, Tech was going to win. That was probably not in doubt. It was really about how he was going to win. And we get some more background information at the end. There's a great sequence we'll talk about soon as part of the ending, as far as the ending goes. But I did like this overall mission, this whole episode. I had a lot of fun as someone who loved the pod race sequence in episode 1. This was right up my alley. So
yeah, and I love that you had the feeling that Tech was going to be the one to step up, and I like the whole time I was like, is he gonna race? Is he gonna race? Because like he's there, he's studying everything, he's studying the patterns, and like everyone who you know, I'm gonna leave my current thought for our next topic, but I think it's very prevalent. But yeah, Tech's man, I love Tech.
I do love Tech as well. What I love most about Tech is his unflappability. He never seems to get too nervous. He's very just low key about everything. Even when things get excited, he only gets minorly excited. He might talk a little faster. That's about it.
Like even when he wins, like if that had been anyone else, they'd be like, yeah. Like he gets out the racer and he's just like, why are you so surprised?
You thought differently, right? Exactly. That's Tech too. That's everything. All right, let's get into our next segment then. Our next segment, we call it The Bachelor.
I was hoping for the whole squad, but you'll do.
This is where we talk about our favorite characters of the week. All right, it don't have to necessarily be part of the Bad Batch. It could be any character. But let's go ahead with you, Matty. Let's start with you. Who do you pick as your Bachelor of the week?
My Bachelor for the week, he's now a 2-time winner, is Tech. This is the second one where he's the man, as I said, which you know, I'm not even putting it out into the world what this could potentially mean, but this answers everyone who's like, oh, there's no Jedi in this show. Boo! Like, what's more Jedi than Tech, a clone, someone who was built for war, solely for war, throwing his weapons away, choosing the path of pacifism, which is a Jedi trait, to say, look, I don't need weapons. I can win without weapons. I can win without fighting.
Not only that, but he's better. He wins because he threw his weapons away. He didn't just throw his weapons away and still win. One of the reasons he won was because he threw his weapons away.
Exactly.
I love that.
And dude, that's so beautiful. Someone who is like, his whole life is just data, analysis, war, fighting. But I feel like something that the old man on Serrano said to him was just like, look, man, there's another way. And I feel like he's now taken that on board. And he's just like, look, I throw your weapons away. I don't need them. Put it on the shields and I'm good. Look where only offense gets you.
That's right. That's the way it goes. I think it's a great choice. Obviously, we are developing Tech more, getting more and more into things with him. But I'm going to say my Bachelor of the Week is someone different. I am very interested to see your response. There's also some people.
You're not.
I'm doing it. I love Teo. I absolutely loved Teo. I watched him. I'm saying to myself, people are going to hate this character. They're going to hate him because he's this wise ass droid, but he's so annoying to everybody involved. And yet, I laughed at everything that came out of his mouth, or his droid head, I should say. He's got some great lines. He's got a great attitude. I love seeing this droid who is not like, he's very sentient of his own, like he's very conscious of his own sentience. Some great, like, independent thinking. I want to see this guy join up more often. He has this great head about him. He's got this great arrogance about him. It's like, I got this. I'll win this. Obviously, I'll win this. I just need to make a few adjustments. He actually is like Tech. I always see Tech as being like closer to a robot than anybody else.
Even Echo.
Right, even Echo. As far as the way he thinks, the way he's very straightforward, logical, rational, etc. Teo is kind of like the Tech version of a robot. He's closer to human than most robots in a way. And I love the dichotomy there and how it worked. That it took Teo to get there. It took Tech to finish the job, so to speak. He's obviously just a tool to be used. They need to have someone there for Tech to replace. I got a lot of love out of him. And of course, I love the great Ben Schwartz is voicing him. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Sonic like voicing him. And he's a racer. Sonic is a racer. I love it. Perfectly done.
Yeah. He did and this is the thing. I hate the character. But I don't hate the character. I hate the performance of the character. But that's exactly what that character is intended to do. That character is intended to be arrogant, annoying, make you just be like, oh god, this guy. Like that's what he's there to do. And I think he did that so well that I was just like, oh, someone just smash this droid into pieces, please. And then it happens, and I was like, yes, now Tech gets to step up and take his place. But I did laugh really hard when Tech was putting him together, and he's just like, I am more than capable to. Where are my arms and legs?
It was so good. It was so good. I don't know. I don't know. Some people didn't like him, whatever. It is what it is. I love him. I hope we get to see more of him, to be honest with you. Probably won't, because he doesn't seem like a character that is fit to come back a lot, but who knows?
K2 would be good friends, I feel.
That would be great. It's a great combination right there. I like that. So yeah, that's where we're with the Bachelor of the week. Let's move on to our next segment. I Spec.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
This is our favorite lines of the week, our lines of dialogue. They could be humorous, they could be, touching, they could be heartbreaking. This week is all about fun and adventure. I actually chose two. So I will say my first one. I'll let you say your second one because I don't want to steal it. I don't want to use that, but I want to go back and go for another one. The first one I'll use is a Teo one.
Ooh.
He's talking to Tech. And I've heard the exact line that Tech says to him. He starts questioning things about what it takes to win. And Teo responds with asking, like, do you know what you're doing? Then take a seat, spectacled spectator. I don't know why I loved it. But for someone who's not sick of goggles yet from Sid, I still love this line at Tech.
And even gets a laugh out of Wrecker because Wrecker's like, spectacled spectator.
Yes. Oh, God. How about you? What's your favorite line of the week?
My favorite line of the week is Tech saying, I need more speed. Because I just, in my head, thinking, Top Gun, I feel the need for speed.
Absolutely.
But I will quickly give my honorable mention of the announcer saying, is that a name? Tech? Just Tech?
All right. Before we move on to the next segment, my other line. I love the announcers. I was expecting maybe the episode 1 announcers were going to make an appearance.
Oh, that would be great.
And I'm all for it. They were not loved by Star Wars fans at the time, but I feel like they need to be due for some reevaluation. But I love the whole announcer spiel. The best part about that line was the fact that everything was so grand. They're announcing all these names: the Mad Gnome, the and Tech. That's it. That's it, huh? That's just
the
Tech.
Crowd just goes quiet.
Just Tech. You sure? That's what we got. That's where we're going. Okay, Tech. Love it.
It's almost like the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. And he wants to call himself the Amazing Spider.
That's trash, Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
that's trash. The Amazing Spider-Man. Okay. Oh, good stuff.
Was that Bruce Campbell?
That was Bruce Campbell. Yeah, Bruce Campbell is one of his 3 roles in Spider-Man.
We got a Bruce Campbell mentions in Holy Snokes. You're welcome, PJ.
There you go. Always. I will give you my honorable mention now. Was Wrecker's line. Mega looking at the iPad going, oh, he's in last place.
Oh,
Tech, you gotta be in front to win. Imparting that knowledge that Tech obviously needed to know. Obviously, Tech was like, oh, I have to be in first to win. I have to change what I'm doing.
Yep.
Wrecker is the intelligent one of the crew, and he continues to be so. God, I love Wrecker. I think I'm always going to have at least one honorable mention of Wrecker, because Wrecker always gives me a line that I chuckle at least once.
I found Teo. Most of them.
Most of them. And you know what? Shout out to another line. I wonder if there's going to be a Easter egg for fans from Dave. How many times are we going to get the mention of Mantel Mix? I got on at the top part of this episode.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Another episode of Mantel Mix is a topic of conversation after Omega beats Wrecker. It seems like yet again in a little battle chess game there. Love it so much. So All right, we are moving along to our next segment. We are a developing podcast. We've decided to take out one of our categories in the first couple of weeks. We did have the category of more, and put that in your holocron and snoke it. But we decided to get rid of more because honestly, this holocron and snoke it seem to be too similar. I didn't know which part I wanted to put where. So we're gonna kind of wrap those into the one category of put that in your holocron and snoke it.
Do you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
This is where we take a look at the lore. We go a deep dive into the lore, what we want to see more of, perhaps more exploration of what they gave us, what we want to see develop further. For me, I never knew how much I wanted this, but I almost want to see the evolution of racing in Star Wars. I love seeing how we're pod racing in episode 1, we're riot racing now in the Bad Batch. Where does it go further? How did we get there? Are these two separate things? Is pod racing still a thing? Or is riot racing replace pod racing? Is this football versus soccer? I don't know what's going on here. But I like the idea of seeing more races in the galaxy. I feel like every time we go back to a race, we learn something about our characters. We learn something about the state of the galaxy. I loved watching this track. We got the first trail has like the advertising sideboards there, like in sports that were almost like Coruscant on this one planet, which is something different. We have the great trails they had to design. We always get some great action set pieces from them. I just want to see more different kinds of racing. Let's see, is there other kinds of racing besides pod racing and ride racing? Or is there a different branch that we don't know about yet? What else can we learn about this racing and how it goes on? I love that aspect. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, it could be like riot racing is like banger racing and pod racing is like F1.
There you go.
They're different types of racing. Mine is actually very similar to yours. In fact, it's an expansion of yours.
Okay.
Just sports in general. In the galaxy. Like, can we get a Field of Dreams or a Mighty Ducks like set in the Star Wars universe? We've had like boxing and underground fights.
Sure.
So that's one type of sport. Now we've had racing. What about like a Color of Money?
That's a good call. That's a very good call. Speaking of a great place for Hondo to show up, because he's a pool shark. He's definitely a pool shark somewhere.
Dude, absolutely. Hondo playing pool, and you can even put TC Legend himself in it.
There you go. I love it. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking with Tabana.
And it's a different lane of like storytelling we haven't gone down in yet. So like a sports story.
It makes sense too.
You could even do it in racing. You could have like a Ford v Ferrari. Hell, even a Talladega Nights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set in Star Wars. It'd be great. I'd watch it.
I would too. And you know what I'm thinking? We could push it just further in the direction with sports. If you're going outside of racing, we don't have a sports team. We've had that mentioned in the EU every once in a while, but never really a mainstream kind of thing. I wouldn't be a baseball or a football per se, but there's got to be some kind of sports they play, and it just seems natural that they have some kind of competition, some kind of, dare I say it, let's have a galaxy-wide Olympics. Representatives from planets coming together kind of thing, or something, not the Olympics, to be something like the Olympics. It'd be kind of fun to get into something that stuff down. It seems like that would be more of a book story, perhaps, but I'd love to see an animated. Maybe the Bad Batch have a mission at the Galaxy Olympics, so to speak. I don't know, some fun stuff to talk about there.
And I mean, we've also had like with the 5 years, with like that's essentially horse racing.
Yeah.
So there are sports out there, but we've seen like individual sports. Now let's see some team sports.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. All right, before we get into our final two segments of the day, which are parsecs out of 11, which is where we rate the episode from 1 to 11, as we always do on PLD projects, and Force Vision, where we talk about our predictions and perhaps where we see it going. Is there anything else that you want to talk about mention-wise? Because I have one thing I want to talk about, but I'm going to mention it in terms of my Force Vision. So I'll let you.
No, I'm good to go.
All right, let's do it then.
It's a ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
How many parsecs out of 11 do you give this episode of The Bad Batch?
I'm going to give this a solid 7.5.
Okay.
Because to me, 8 and up, that's great. This is as close to great as I can give it without it being great. Because to me, like episode 3, that was great. That was incredible. 1 and 2, they were both great. This is very, very, very good. This is like on the verge for me. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I didn't love it, but I by no means anywhere near disliked it. It was a lot of fun. I really did enjoy it.
I will say I gave it an 8, and I will say the same thing. I think the issue we have here is it's hard. Our favorite stories, especially in the animated shows like Clone Wars and Bad Batch and Rebels and things like that, the ones that are the most memorable, the ones we really, really usually dig, are the ones that are extremely story-based, big, huge moments in the story. For like last week was one of those moments where we got Cody back. We got to see Crosshair on his own. There was a deep dive into things. Obviously, the end of last season, we had the fall of Camino, a seminal moment. A lot of seminal moments happen in those big episodes to make it those great 10 or 11 out of 11 kind of things. When you have an episode like this, which is, I want to find a new word for filler, because filler always seems so negative or derogative.
I think I have one.
Okay.
I call them bridge episodes.
Bridge. Okay, that's better. All right. We are going to have bridge episodes. And Dave Filoni always does a good job with bridge episodes of at least introducing a nugget of something that's going to be important in the future. So a bridge episode is hard to make a 10 or 11 out of 11, because the bridge episodes are not designed to be the most memorable, the most rewatchable, exciting stuff. But it doesn't mean that a bridge episode isn't worthy, isn't fun. And this is exactly what you're trying to say. This is an 8 out of 11 for me. At the end of the season, I'm not going to go back and go, God, the riot racing episode is the one I got to go back to. But at the same time, I have no reason to skip it. Like if I were doing a rewatch of the season, I thought it was a fun, exciting adventure. I did highly enjoy it. So I'm happy with where it landed. Again, this is not a forgettable episode. It's not an episode I'm going to toss aside. It just might not be quite as, it's not going to make my top 10, so to speak, in a way. Overall, 8 out of 11. I'm happy with it. If we get more episodes like this, I'm excited about that as well. So, all right, last segment of the day before we wrap up.
Premonitions?
Forest Vision, where we try to take our own holograms, try to speculate into the future, see what we're going to have ahead of us. I want to touch base. This is the reason why I saved part of my recap for here. The scene at the end where Malegi talks to Tech and Wrecker and Omega. We have this great moment where Tech comes in. They could ask for more money, but they only asked for Sid back. Because at one point, if you didn't get to see the episode, I don't know why you're watching the spoiler episode, but after the first race, they lost the first race when Teo was defeated by a less than scrupulous manner by Jet Venom and another Malegi crew member. They took Sid as collateral while they doubled down so Tech raced to win back Sid's freedom and wipe the deck clean. Tech mentions at one point, he's like, this isn't the first time that Sid's gotten them into trouble or her into trouble due to her dealing with less than integral or less scrupulous people. Let's put it that way.
Problematic pattern.
A problematic pattern.
You put it.
Yes. And that was put forth at the end. They get her back. She starts leaving. Now, this is what sold the great Ernie Hudson's Malegi for me. Malegi, for the most part, was a good character. He was kind of like, archetype. I'm the gruff gangster type. There was pretty typical of him. Pretty typical character. He shines at the end where Jet Venom grabs his gun like he's going to shoot them because he's pissed. Very, very impulsive, bubble-like. Malegi stops him because he's got a code of honor. He says it quite frankly, like, you came back. You didn't have to do it. You wanted Sid back. You got him. Like he respected what Tech and Wrecker and Omega did for Sid. Stops them from shooting them. Stops Jet from shooting them, but then stops the Bad Batch as well and says, "You're loyal, and that's something to be celebrated." I'm not saying the exact line here. Celebrated. However, Sid's not the same way. And so I would watch your backs, intimating that we don't know a lot about Sid's background, and we don't. We know that Sid worked with the Jedi, so she can't be all that bad, obviously. But the Jedi worked with some unscrupulous people as well. Hell, Obi-Wan and Anakin worked with Hondo and Akka quite a few times, and left them. Hondo is exactly the epitome of loyalty. So with that in mind, we don't know what else she's gotten into. She's obviously dealing with underworld elements most of the time. It did seem like these great moments where Sid showed that she wanted to change, that she didn't like, she was trying to leave that old life behind. Like maybe the Bad Batch, maybe Omega specifically, seems to have had an influence on her trying to be a better person. But Malegi doesn't buy it yet. And I feel like that's going to come to a crux at some point. At some point this season, not next episode, but at some point this season, there's going to be a moment where Sid is going to have the choice and have the chance to betray the Bad Batch for her own personal gain, whether it be save her own life, to save her establishment, for some credits to get away from the Empire and save her skin. But to do that, she'll have to turn in the Bad Batch and Omega. And that's going to be a very tough decision. And that's going to be the crux of that episode, or whatever it's going to be, is does Sid do it? Does Sid fall in line, keep with her loyalty, with the team, the family she's developed with them, especially, like I said, with Omega? Or does she sell out and become the character that Malegi says she is, and Malegi is threatening the Bad Batch with who she is? So I think we're going to find that soon, and I have a feeling she'll make the right decision. I feel like that's what we're going to lead up to, is that Sid's going to be part of the family. But I don't know. But I can't wait for that episode, because I feel like that's building up, and if they build it up properly, it's going to be a tremendous moment.
Yeah, this is actually going to be what I bring up as well, because there was the moment when they're sitting in like the skybox bit once Sid's been taken, and Malegi says to old times, like he wants to toast to old times. And Sid's like, I'm not that way anymore.
Right.
And he says, but they don't know the old Sid. And she says something like, yeah, but you don't think I can change? And we know that's what Star Wars is about. It's about redemption and people showing that they can come back to the light. There is an episode title, and I'm going to speculate responsibly here. There's an episode title in the mid-season, like, two-parter called Truth and Consequences.
Okay.
I feel like that could be an episode where we see Sid at a crossroads, and I feel like she will be put in a position where she has to betray the Bad Batch.
And does she? That's the important thing. Does she? We don't know.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. The clone conspiracy and Truth and Consequence could definitely be that. There's a couple out there that seem like that could be the case as well. I'm definitely interested to see her character moving forward. I do love her character. I think she adds a great bit of stability to the crew as someone outside of Clone Force 99, the Bad Batch. So yeah, I think that's it. Anything else you want to add about the episode?
Yeah, I think it was cool that we found out her full name, Sidian Scaleback.
Yeah, I did like that. I did notice that as well. I was like, oh, what's that?
And this wasn't the first foreshadowing we've had of this. We had I forget the character's name, Issa Durant's son from the first season. Was also like, hey, watch her, because she's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. So, see, I want to actually walk back one thing I said. I feel like we do have to see a moment where I think in that episode, I do think she'll eventually be good and she'll make the right decision, but I think she's going to make the wrong decision first.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those moments where she makes the wrong decision, regrets it, and then has to do something to redeem herself by either saving the Bad Batch or coming back for them or whatever. One of those kind of classic Star Wars moments, that classic Han Solo flying away from the Battle of Yavin. I got my money, I'm good. And then he comes back, of course, with woohoo and shoots Vader off Luke's back. I think it could be a similar type moment where Sid turns them in, perhaps, and then all of a sudden shows up last minute and says, "Come on, guys, come on, goggles, get in here, let's go," kind of thing. So, there we go. All right, folks, thanks again for showing up for the third episode here of Holy Snokes. I love talking Star Wars with Matty Gunner here. I appreciate him.
Likewise, bro.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys listening in as well. I like talking positive stuff about Star Wars, and I hope you come to this episode as well as all other Star Wars episodes with love in your heart. Let's talk about PLD projects real quick. I want to shout out my patrons at patreon.com/PLD projects. So it's people like Allison Salamoni, Brandon Buckingham, Brady Parker, Jeff Alterman, John Lestrina, Partis Jessidason, and a few others. I could not keep this going without you guys. You help keep the lights on, so I appreciate that. I'll also talk about a couple other things real quick. If this is your first time here, I should mention this up top. I'm always bad at that, because if you're still stuck it out and it's your first time here, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We are marching towards 500 subscribers. It's a modest goal at this point. We are slowly eking our way up to it. I hope you can spread the news and get us a few more subs. Hopefully we're worth it to you. Appreciate that. Have some great content on this channel. Obviously, Holy Snokes is every week breaking down Bad Batch. Going to break down Mandalorian. We're going to have double Holy Snokes episodes throughout March, so we can break down both Bad Batch and Mandalorian Season 3. We also have, of course, Class Action with Maddie, myself, and Richard Eric Jarvie, where we break down two things in the TV movie world, put them up against each other: actors, directors, movies, franchises, etc., with custom-made categories like tonight. And let's see which one comes out victorious. Obviously, Crown Jewels, A Journey Through Queen. I take you through every song in the Queen soundtrack. Also, PJ Campbell and myself do 2 mediocre white dudes on film, breaking down franchise films and hopefully Patriot films. This week we're going into Lethal Weapon. That's about it, folks. Where can the folks find you, Matty?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Matty Gunner, on Instagram, Matty_Gunner. You can find my band Mourner, MOURNER, on all streaming services. And you can find us on Instagram at Mourner Band. You can find me every Tuesday with Paul and Richard Eric Jarvie on Class Action. Next week, I believe we are doing Hugh Jackman versus Christian Bale.
That's correct.
Both their filmographies together should be very interesting. And of course, here every Wednesday with PLD talking Star Wars, which I love doing. Paul's one of my favorite people to talk Star Wars with, because you're always so positive about it, dude. Even when we disagree, you're positive about it, and we're not two to argue about Star Wars, because we both love this.
Yeah.
And yeah,
a lot of love in our hearts.
I was just gonna say, like, I love that you said that. A lot of love in our hearts.
So there you go. All right, find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter, and all the aforementioned shows I've mentioned here. We also do trailer reactions here as well, things like that. But that's it for this week, folks. Until next time, stay batching. And I don't know what that means necessarily, but we'll talk about that next week maybe. Bye.
May the Force be with you always.